morning, everybody, and thanks for coming to see a presentation on Kootenai silver. So I guess I can just, here we are. So for people who don't know, Kootenai silver is focused on exploration and discovery of silver deposits in Mexico. We've been in Mexico quite a long time, made a number of discoveries. We're going to be making some, where do I point this? Here?
I don't think the laser pointer works.
Oh, okay. So forward-looking statements will be made, and then moving on to the next slide. Is there a way to advance this from here? Or? Oh, here it is. It's working now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so with Kootenai silver, investing in Kootenai silver, you're getting exposed to a couple of things. We offer a tremendous amount of leverage to the silver price. You can see that on our stock chart anytime. Take a look at our chart and take a look at the silver price. We respond to that silver price very well because of our large resource base that we have. We have one of the largest junior-owned silver resource bases in Mexico. So, and then we also offer this explosive growth upside in discoveries, exploration, old-fashioned drill discoveries. And we've been working on one here for the last 3.5 years called Columba, which is a very exciting new high-grade vein system that's been recognized as possibly an entire vein district. And so sets us up really for great value re-rating through two routes, through the discovery route, of course, and then also through leverage to the silver price. Capital structure, you can see here, 415 million shares issued. Our daily volume average over the last 3 months is over 800,000 shares a day. We've got key shareholders, Eric Sprott, Condired of Texas, management directors, and then the institutions that's mostly high net worth and manage money in Europe. And then investments from major mining companies in the past. These are not current shareholders, but companies who've invested in us based on the various discoveries we've made in the past. So it's a testament to the ability of our team to make significant discoveries. And so we're going to be talking a lot about the Columba silver property today because that's really what's driving interest now, and we see a great opportunity here for the discovery of over 100 million ounces of high-grade silver in classic veins. And then this is backed by our resources, which total 136 million ounces of silver equivalent M&I and 35 million more ounces of silver equivalent in the inferred category, which are hosted in two different projects called Promontorio La Negra and La Ceguera. And in fact, the Promontorio La Negra project has a second discovery on it that does not yet have a resource calculation. Well, that was a discovery that attracted Pan American to do a deal with us where they were going to take it all the way to production if it got to 50 million ounces on that La Negra discovery. It did not, we got it back 100%, but it's got the possibility for a smaller miner in a real high margin operation. But those projects we're going to look at advancing in a true silver bull market where we can see dollars being spent there adding value. Right now, the value that's going to be added is at Columba, and you'll see why here clearly because of the high grades we're hitting and the widths that we're getting there. It's really an incredible project. So the Columba project's located here in northern Chihuahua. It's about a 3-hour drive from the airport in Ciudad Chihuahua, the capital of the Chihuahua state. Our resource projects, La Ceguera sits in the famous Parral district of Mexico along that Sierra Madre trend. And then the Promontorio resource project is in southern Sonora. So milestones and catalysts here. The milestones have been really focused on that Columba project and the drilling there. And then the catalysts going forward here, the next steps for Columba is to initiate a staged 50,000 meter drill program in a couple of stages to culminate in a resource calculation, which would be a maiden resource calculation. We also hold 10 million shares of Aztec Minerals after we sold our remaining interest in one of our projects called Cervantes, which is a very interesting oxide gold system that they're drilling. It's part of a larger gold copper porphyry, in fact, so there's some pretty exciting upside to that project as well. So getting on to Columba here, I've touched on this a little bit. It's a classic high-grade Mexican vein system, and what attracted us to this project when we were first introduced to it were the high grades reported in old historic maps. There was 2 periods of historic mining here, around the 1910 era, where they put down a shaft 200 meters and 6 levels out on one of the veins we call the F vein. So they were getting ready for production, and that was halted by the Mexican Revolution. And it was records from this sampling on this old mine that where we saw these high grades. So we couldn't access that mine because it's flooded, but we could do other things to give us confidence that those assays were accurate. And so we acquired the option to acquire 100% of that project. And then the first thing we did was drill test that to confirm those numbers, and that certainly was shown to be true. And not only on that historic vein, but multiple other veins across the property are returning high grades over really good widths. For example, you can see this bulleted point here, 17 meters of 650 silver, 6 meters of 2,000 grams per ton, 34 meters, half kilo. Those are all different veins. So the setting is really interesting geologically. It's in a caldera. You can see from this image here, you can see that circular dish shape there. That's the caldera. There's the bottom of it here. And so you're at a topographic low in the center here. And at that point, the erosion level has just clipped the top of the veins where they're productive, where they have grade. And when you go out of that caldera bottom up the sides, your grades in silver starts to disappear, but your structure is still there. And when you drill underneath those areas with no silver at surface, you've got good vein intercepts. For example, in the B vein here, surface we got 1 gram per ton on the structure. We drilled down 150 meters deeper, we got 4.6 meters of 1,186 grams per ton silver. Quite incredible. So that means that whatever was deposited here originally is still here. There's barely any erosion occurred. And now we've extended the size of this thing 4 kilometers in this direction and 3 kilometers in that direction. So now we've got the footprint of a system that can be 100 million ounces in size or multiples thereof. And just to give some feeling for comparison, here's our vein system here on the same scale with the Vizsla Panuca, which is now over 200 million ounces. And then here's Silvercrest Las Chispas here, over 100 million ounces. And so we've got this opportunity for what might be a very large silver district here. And some of the values we're hitting, you can see here multiple high-grade hits across all these veins where we've tested them. Here's the historic vein. We've got over 40 holes along 700 meters of strike down to 200-meter depth here, still in good grades at the bottom. And then you've got this area here, you've got not only veins, but stockwork and breccias in incredible numbers, 44 meters over 300 grams with 6 meters of 2,000 grams per ton. This area here we call the east block, and this extension to the northeast. At surface, all you see is a little brecciated structure with no values in it. But when you drill down to that level where you start to see values, we've got over 1.5 meters of 450 grams and half a meter of over a kilo there. So again, we're at the very top of this system. It's almost entirely preserved. And then down here we got what we call the D vein. We've only tested 400 meters of strike there so far, and it's getting our best widths and grades to date. We've got a hole down here where the 17 meters of 650 silver it sits, and then 90 meters below that is 34 meters, half a kilo, with a high of almost 6 kilos per ton inside that. So lots of upside potential here. What's going to happen next is just the 50,000 meters of drilling in stage phases. The next phase will just systematically keep stepping off of these high-grade hits that we have, defining the limits and shapes and volumes of them, going a little deeper here in the F vein, putting some holes into these parts of the veins that don't even have a drill testing yet, to see if we're even in the best areas yet. And then follow that up with further drilling, step out infill, and get us to the stage where we can do a maiden resource. We currently have 135 holes here and 27,000 meters of drilling done. Just long sections here. I'll whip through this fairly quickly. This is the historically worked F vein. Not only is there the main F vein, but there's 2 other parallel veins on either side of it. And they're showing some really good numbers here. For example, 1.6 meters at 2,000 grams per ton here, one of the deepest holes. Over here, over 700 grams, that's one of the deepest holes again, just still open to depth. Here's the D vein. We have this 34 meters, a half kilo. Inside that's almost just shy of 10 meters of 1,700 gram per ton silver. And then there's lead zinc in addition to that. 90 meters above is this hole with 17 meters of 650. And then over here, 500 grams over here, similar grades there. As you can see, when you're up high in elevation, you're getting no values. You get down below around the 1,700 meter level, and you're getting these great numbers. And wide open in all directions here. B vein, very similar story. Again, up here at surface, you're not seeing anything. You get down here, and you're getting some very excellent results. There's the 4.6 meters of over a kilo down there, 2 meters of over a kilo silver down here, and so again, open on strike and to depth. This just a step back of show the geology of the caldera. We've got 10,000 hectare application concession around this whole thing, and then interior to this we got nearly 1,000 hectares of concessions there in the interior. We only have 2 more payments left here, totaling 645,000 US to be made in April and May, and we're in position to pay that, and then we're going to have this exciting project 100% subject to a royalty. And so the next stage here, as I've touched on, 50,000 meters of drilling in a few stages here. The next stage will be at least 10,000 meters, just stepping off and continuing to expand the size of what we've discovered so far. And so then I'll touch very briefly, just enough time here to talk about where the resources are and where they're at. The La Higuera resource sits in the famous Parral district of Mexico. We're on this mineralized trend here coming out of the Santa Barbara, San Francisco del Oro part of the district. There's been 500 million ounces of silver produced here, and they're mining today at depths of more than 2,000 meters. This resource here is a stockwork style resource constrained in an open pit at around 85 grams. Wide open in strike directions to depth, multiple targets here. There's 51.5 million ounces M&I, silver, and another 11.5 in inferred. This is the kind of district and area where once you get into production, you stay in production for decades to come, replacing your reserves or what you produced with more reserves. So really great upside here. This particular deposit at this grade starts to look interesting on paper and sort of the mid-20 silver range. We've done some geologic modeling. We think we can tighten up that resource model, and because we think there's some dilution occurring in the current model, and we might even end up with a higher grade. So then the Promontorio La Negra, this was our first discovery in Mexico. We had a huge diatreme here at Promontorio. Big low-grade diatremes, silver, gold, lead, zinc. And then the second discovery, La Negra, was what got Pan American really excited to come in to the company, invest in it, and do a JV deal. some of the discovery holes here, there was 200 meters, 156 grams per ton right from surface. And this is the mineralized zone sticking right at the ground. So you can see how it could lend itself to a nice low-cost open pit. The metallurgy looks pretty simple. Leach gets good recoveries. It's a simple leach. It gets good recoveries there. So this is something in a better silver market that we want to start to advance again. Same as the La Ceguera project. So then the management board of this company is really well-rounded, particularly for a junior company. We have experience from grassroots exploration, drill discovery, feasibility, mine design, mine building, and mine operations, and the financing at each and every one of those stages. And myself, I'm a geologist. I have been in the business for a long time now. I was one of the founders of National Gold. We bought the Mulatos deposit from Kennecott and Placer Dome in 2000. Then we brought in John McCluskey and Chester Miller from Alamos Minerals to help us finance that acquisition. And that became the beginning of Alamos Gold. I stepped off that board in 2012. And then Ken Berry's our chairman, and he put the Moss Mine in Arizona in production about 5 years ago, open pit gold mine. And so, yeah, we're out of time now.